Easter began when God breathed into man his DNA. Whether you are rich or poor, white, brown, black, red, or yellow, God breathed into you his DNA. Hence, he gave you at conception value, purpose, promise, and potential. So let's say our proclamation together, shall we? I was born with value and purpose. My life has promise and potential as it unfolds in accordance to God's eternal plan. Why do I know that is true? Because Genesis 1:27 tells me. So since you're made in the image of God, let's live that way and change the world in which we live. And the church said, Amen. Have a great day. Never give a woman a hammer and a nail. That's really not number one. But I thought it was funny. Okay. The danger of misplaced trust. Now, we haven't even looked at that. So let me give it to you. The text said that Sisera took with him 900 iron chariots. See, to Sisera, that was his strength. 900 iron chariots. Now listen to me. Whenever we think that our strength apart from God is sufficient to win or accomplish anything, we've missed it. If you live these 10 fundamental principles of the Christian faith, then we, as believers, are guaranteed to grow in our fellowship and walk with the Lord. To date, we've looked at number 1, the assurance of salvation, it's His work. And number 2, Bible reading. It's our final authority for life, faith, and the practice thereof. It's God speaking to us. Today, we look at step 3, prayer, the most powerful resource available to those of us who believe. And it's simply this, us speaking to God. So let's begin our study with a small but foundational mission. That means that amongst yourselves, you're going to ask this question. When was the first time you prayed and God answered your prayer? Now, I mean go way back. You can go back to your childhood. When was the first time you prayed and God answered your prayer? So take a few minutes, discuss it amongst yourselves, and we're going to come back and have a little fun with this. So here we are, we're discussing this pre-marriage inventory, and I'm noticing that all these little flags have to do with her being right. That she's always right and he's always wrong. So I said to the bride-to-be, is that correct? Are you always right and he's always wrong? Because that seems to be where these flags are showing up. And she said to me, looked me right in the eyes, and said, absolutely, I am always right. And she meant it. She absolutely meant it. So I looked at the groom and I said, so is that correct? And he looked at me and he said, you betcha. So I told him I wasn't doing the wedding. Anyway, I'm only kidding. But listen, for any relationship to work, not just a marriage, it is essential that you say the words, I am wrong. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I apologize. That's garbage. It is. It's garbage. You know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I got caught. I'm sorry that I offended you. I'm sorry that I said something I shouldn't say, but I should have said it. I'm sorry or I apologize. No, that's not the same thing as I am wrong. And if you want to have a marriage that works and you want to have a relationship that works, you had better put in your vocabulary the words, I am wrong. Read this with me. It's a one-sentence sermon that's worth jotting down. You ought to put it on your refrigerator, clip it on your hands, do something. But wisdom and disobedience do not equal righteousness. Come on, say it with me. That's why Solomon isn't named. Because although Solomon had wisdom, and he gives us the entire book of Proverbs and 1,000 others, he didn't obey what he knew was wise. And Ludlow asks Myra, will a person who commits suicide go to heaven? And she responds by saying she didn't know. Now, I found it interesting that a troubled young man would pose the same question asked by those who seem to have it all together. And to be quite honest, it's a question. It was that question, will a person who commits suicide go to heaven, which I first heard 30 plus years ago and continue to hear, and may I say with more frequency than ever before in my life. That was the catalyst for this book, Hope Beyond Suicide. So truth number one, whether you are a troubled young man like Ludlow or the caregiver like Myra, you have purpose and you have value. And the reason why, and here's what happens, we have a tendency to compartmentalize value and purpose. But understand something, the reason why value and purpose is valuable and purposeful is because it belongs to Christ. Does that make sense to you? In other words, you just can't hang these two words out here, value and purpose. They're not independent of their creator. The reason why value and purpose has value and purpose is because they belong to Christ. God in his infinite wisdom has put everything in submission to his Son. It's like the dad who just loves his kid. And you know what? He wants nothing for him but the best. Everything he has, he says, is yours. You're the next generation. Take it. It's all yours. It's everything I have is yours and more. That's what God the Father did with the Son, Jesus Christ. Every faith other than Christianity says you get it right, and then that God will accept you. You say you're enough prayers, you fast enough, you do this, you don't do this. You get it right. In fact, if that doesn't work for you, just be reincarnated enough times and maybe eventually you'll move from a chimpanzee to the Son of God. Get it right. And that God will accept you. Only Christianity says you'll never get it right. And that's why there's a Jesus. Otherwise, Christianity is the most preposterous of all faiths. What other faith offers their God as a sacrifice for its subjects? Not another. Only Judeo-Christianity.